Tonight on Nightline, Lincoln University students and their bad taste Nazi antics. How Sydney airport caterers used their food trolleys to smuggle drugs. Why the Kiwi Concords failed to fly at the Emmy Awards. And Fashion Week, LA-style parties and models without catwalks.
This is Nightline with Samantha Hayes.
Kia ora, good evening. Lincoln University is investigating students who dressed up as Nazis and concentration camp prisoners at a university-run party over the weekend. Some students dressed as Hitler, pointing plastic guns at the heads of Jews, pleading for their lives. Juanita Copeland has more.
Asked to dress up as Germans, these first-year Lincoln University students chose one of the world's most reviled figures.
And it was an Oktoberfest event. It wasn't a Nazi-themed or Holocaust-themed event at all, and students weren't encouraged to come along like that at all.
The weekend event was to coincide with the original Oktoberfest beer festival in Germany. It was run on campus for the university's halls of residence. And while it wasn't a students' association event, the president says they crossed the line.
I think it was not malicious in its intent, but it genuinely caused offence to some students.
In emails to 3 News, the students confirmed they weren't intending to be disrespectful. But the Jewish Council says young people should be better educated about the Nazi Holocaust.
Unless we learn from history and take offence at people minimising and trivialising history, we will never become the society we should.
Nazi regalia always causes controversy. Prince Harry learned that when he wore a Gestapo outfit to a party. And this Romanian mayor is being investigated after dressing as a Nazi in a fashion show. He may yet have to resign. The Lincoln students will probably have to formally apologise. In a statement, the university's Vice-Chancellor has formally apologised for any offence the students have caused. He says the behaviour is unacceptable and he'll be taking disciplinary action once his investigation into the events is complete. Juanita Copeland, 3 News.
Prime Minister John Key is on his way to New York to speak at the United Nations General Assembly and meet US President Barack Obama. Key's also appearing on The Late Show with David Letterman, a guest spot which was pushed by Tourism New Zealand. Before flying out, though, he announced a safety review for our tourism adventure industry. Here's Assn.
Millions of tourists stream into New Zealand every year on the promise of adventure. British backpacker Emily Jordan was among them, but riverboarding proved fatal for her. Now her parents are warning others not to come here for adventure because safety standards aren't up to scratch. John Key wants to prove them wrong.
And I believe it could damage our industry if we don't make sure we're meeting those very high standards. And I think it's incumbent upon me, both as the Minister of Tourism but also as Prime Minister, to protect New Zealand's international reputation.
So Key's launching an investigation of the entire sector.
It's important that people understand if they engage in some of this activity, it can be risky, but it's also important that they are afforded the protection and care that we would expect.
Key says cowboy operators who don't provide that protection and care will be shut down. The industry's quick to say there are few who could be called cowboys.
Our view is that our reputation has actually been built on the non-cowboy factor. We've got professional operators, they're professional risk managers.
But the Jordans have campaigned with a different story.
They did kill her in the end, basically. She didn't have a chance. They shouldn't have been in the river where they were. And when they got into difficulty, or Emily got into difficulty, they had no safety equipment and had no idea at all of how to get out of the water.
Key says that message could cost us because the potential for damage here is huge. The tourism industry is worth $20 billion a year to New Zealand. Almost half of that comes from international tourism. That's bigger than the dairy industry, and this country simply cannot afford to get a reputation for poor safety standards. Assn, 3 News.
The Prime Minister's also confirmed the SAS has arrived in Afghanistan and will be in combat soon. That announcement also coincides with John Key's visit to the US, as Scott Campbell explains.
It's a sombre sight. The bodies of 6 Italian soldiers today returned to Rome and a guard of honour The soldiers were killed in a roadside bomb blast in Afghanistan last week. And it's to this that our Special Air Service, or SAS, have arrived. It's understood they could be in combat by week's end.
I can confirm that the New Zealand Special Air Services Task Group has arrived in Afghanistan. A group of 71 SAS personnel will be deployed in Afghanistan.
This is the first of 3 missions for our elite soldiers over the next 18 months. And Key admits some might not return this time.
It's my hope that no one will be injured, and certainly it's my grave hope that there'll be no fatalities, but that's something that you can't rule out. It's a dangerous environment.
There are also questions lingering about the legitimacy of Hamid Karzai's recent presidential election win, with claims of vote rigging and corruption.
I think a growing number of people in New Zealand and elsewhere in the world are concerned that we would be sending our people to die for a regime that we don't believe is an effective governor of Afghanistan.
The SAS will work under NATO, but a New Zealand commander will have the final say on operations, and Key will get regular updates. Scott Campbell, 3 News.
Fire investigators fear they may never discover what started a blaze that destroyed a popular Christchurch tavern. Strong winds fanned the flames which engulfed the Hillsborough Tavern last night in a matter of minutes. The building had no sprinklers, leaving almost 50 firefighters struggling from the moment they arrived. The extent of the damage is so great that investigators say they have few clues as to the cause of the fire. More New Zealanders are in prison than ever before in the country's history. There are 8,509 people in custody today. The government says this shows the urgent need for more prison accommodation as well as double bunking. In Australia, federal police claim to have smashed a sophisticated drug ring working out of Sydney Airport. 6 men have been arrested, 3 of them airline catering staff, who are accused of using food trolleys to smuggle cocaine off planes and out of the airport. Channel 7's Paul Caddick reports.
Authorities say this is the moment an international drug smuggling operation came unstuck. It's a kilogram of cocaine, $350,000 worth, found in a catering trolley that had just been taken from a United Airlines jumbo. Customs and federal police have been working on this for 18 months. 2 men arrested are employed by the nation's largest airline catering company, Gate Gourmet.
A member of the syndicate who brought the drugs onto the plane, into the cabin, and secreted them within the cabin at a location known to the catering people.
After raids on homes across Sydney, 6 men have been arrested. 3 faced court today. Truck driver Wayne Williams used to work for the catering company. Matthew Hay and Jose Alcalera were still wearing their Gate Gourmet uniforms.
Well, they are serious charges. Of course, any drug smuggling charge is a serious charge.
One of the accused, Matthew Hay, asked for bail in court today, but the magistrate refused, saying the prosecution had a strong case against him, including surveillance tapes, some of the 58,000 calls intercepted by authorities. The men had special security passes needed to get onto the tarmac, passes only given out after background checks.
It's a very clever operation that has been easily perpetrated within the security framework.
And the criteria around which those cards can be obtained, that needs to be tightened up quick smart.
Stay with us after the break on Nightline, why freedom camping will cost you in the Coromandel. And sick of Obama yet, why critics say too much talk is cheap.
On the program tomorrow, how has the New Zealand fashion industry survived the recession? And we meet an iconic Kiwi designer. Join me 6:30 tomorrow morning for ASV Business.